Who's the hidden gem of this transfer portal class? Well, given my last name, I think I'm pretty fit to talk about it.
Actually, hold on. Are you sure about that? You sure about that, Ruby?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't think you are.
Oh, God.
I'm concerned.
I'm also concerned. I wasn't planning on whatever he was about to do here.
Ruby, this cold open is going to linger forever.
Oh, no. It's the worst. We don't even get to go into the show. It's just
talk about it.
The longest cold open.
It's just the cold open
in the history.
Cold open so long.
Time.
I forgot to mute my computer, and it just started playing the stream that is already live. And usually it's over by now, so that I can mute it.
Erik, talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about the.
I will. Right after this.
On
PHNX
Sun Devils.
And welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by the Lister, also known by most governments here on planet Earth as Erik Ruby. I say most because we still have some issues with some unnamed countries. Of course, we have the Deli Man behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. A ton to get into on what is the first of 2 episodes of the PHNX Sun Devils show here on a Wednesday. Of course, we have our hour-long program today where we're going to spend a good chunk of the day continuing to talk about transfer portal additions and potentially some additions that could have a massive impact for the Sun Devils here in 2026. And then tonight, we will be doing our very first ASU men's basketball postgame show of the season. I say first and potentially last, depending on the result of this evening's game. We will, at the very end of today's show, play what is maybe the most interesting Bobby Hurley soundbite that's out there.
No.
Maybe the second most interesting Bobby Hurley soundbite that is out there.
Nothing tops him wondering if
he's going to wake up.
Yeah,
that was certainly something. But Ruby, we're not going to talk too much hoops until a little bit later on. I want to spend some time before we dive into the hidden gems of this team, before we talk, quarterbacks and all of that. And I want to ask you a question that I feel like felt when I posed this on social yesterday. And it wasn't even really a question. It wasn't a question at all. It was more of a statement. And then because of the uproar in the comments, I decided, sure, let's pose it out there on social. And it is, does Arizona State, or will Arizona State, go into 2026 with the best wide receiver in the Big 12? Not the country, but in the Big 12 with Omarion Miller and then, of course, Reed Harris transferring to Arizona State from Colorado and Boston College, respectively. I thought this was a pretty open and shut kind of case. It appears Colorado fans think otherwise.
No. Wait. Colorado fans? What? You're kidding. I need a second because that's the most unexpected thing. Colorado fans being blindly faithful in their football team. Oh, man, I don't even know how I could do the rest of the show. Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. Like you lost your best receiver. We took your best receiver. Said,
Literally just took him.
Thank you. We'll take him. Bye-bye. Have a good one. It's funny how, and to be fair, Arizona State fans are a little guilty of this too, is when a player hits the transfer portal, all of a sudden he sucks. Like he wasn't even good for you. Like, what are we talking about here? We took your best receiver, and then we took another top 5 wide receiver in the portal. And if we want to keep on going down wide receiver cores, like Derek Eusebio is a pretty good third option here. And maybe this is the ASU bias in me, but I feel like it's a pretty strong, if not the single strongest case to have these 2 wide receivers up at the top of the Big 12. Like there's a chance these are the 2 best wide receivers in the Big 12 period. Like that's how much talent there is there. Now, again, there were some people in the comments talking about, oh, well, who's going to be throwing them a ball? But that's not the conversation.
That's not the question.
Hey, we're going to judge who the best wide receiver is by who's their quarterback. Like, that's not the conversation. If you want to talk like overall production, like who's going to put up the biggest stats, okay, well then that's a bigger conversation. But as far as talent goes, you're getting 2 of the most talented wide receivers in the country. Screw the Big 12, the country, right? Coming to your home turf to play together that are extremely complementary as well. There's really like not a lot of overlap there with them, size-wise, how they run routes, how they catch, how they block. Like they're very complementary. Have confidence and faith in your own team, but when we snatched your chain and took Omarion Miller, and you're talking about how you have the best wide receiver core in the Big 12, like come on, let's calm down.
Like I saw this and I saw they got the addition of DeAndre Moore Jr., who's transferring from Texas to Colorado. Congratulations on getting another Power 5 receiver. Last 2 seasons, he hasn't been a top option at Texas. I imagine he'll come in and be probably the top option at Colorado. But somebody that 38 catches this past year at Texas, 4 touchdowns, 2024, 39 catches, 7 touchdowns. Like, he's a fine receiver. He's not Omarion Miller by any means, but he's a fine receiver that you added. And I think this is for me where it's the biggest jump in, like, okay, you have blind confidence and then there's delusion, right? It's like there's a part of going to the circus and then being the clown, like in the circus, right? And I think Colorado fans are walking that line of being in the stands and watching the dude play with the circus bear, and then also being the circus animal. Because let's be real here. Omarion Miller, top 5 receiver in the transfer portal. Reed Harris, top 5 receiver in the transfer portal. Outside of Jordan Tyson last year, Omarion Miller's a top 3 receiver in the conference. Right or wrong?
Completely right.
Okay, go to the ACC, where Reed Harris was playing against a bunch of bums and nerds in that conference, right? Top 3 receiver in the conference. Right or wrong?
Yeah, again, these are 2 top 5 transfer portal receivers.
So let me tell you the other additions that apparently, because I am flipping through the book here, flipping through it like it's a 900-page phone book looking for answers of why Colorado fans seem to think that they have the best wide receiver group in the conference. And the only thing that I can possibly wrap my mind around outside of DeAndre Moore Jr., who I've sat here and said, congratulations, got him from a great school, never got to be the go-to guy there because of the other talent that they've had there over the last several seasons. Ernest Campbell, who is a whopping 5'9", $145, transferring over from Sac State to Colorado, 37 catches, 755 yards, 8 touchdowns. I'm sorry if that doesn't scream fireworks to me, considering they played a bunch of nobodies. Okay? Now, the other addition, Danny Scudero. Never heard of the guy until about 10 minutes ago. San Jose State transfer, so I'm kind of surprised he didn't go to Arizona, knowing that that's the San Jose State farm system. Had a great year at San Jose State. 88 catches, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. The problem that I have with Scudero and Campbell is, I say this as a short king. They're both 5'9". You don't stick 2 5'9" guys on the field at wide receiver and plan to have any sort of success. It just doesn't work. There's a reason why more teams don't do it. There's a reason why DBs in 2026 are trending toward, I want a guy that's 6 foot at the shortest. It's because the wide receivers are getting bigger. The talent is getting scarier. And Colorado's answer is, you know what? What if we went shorter? What if instead of getting genetic freaks like Reed Harris, who stand at 6'5" and jump over dudes, what if we went and got the 2 best 5'9" receivers that the FCS has ever seen? And apparently that's your solution to the best wide receiver group in the conference. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? You have to be. You have to be joking. Because this is the only thing that I can point to of like, okay, here's your fine line. You're either making a joke because you're at the circus, or no, you happen to be the clown, like pulling rabbits and pigeons out of the hat.
Well, and look, I know you're going classic Totri here, which I love, especially because it's against Colorado, and I fully encourage it. I don't think that they're like bad. Like I think they probably have a fine wide receiver core. I think it has limitations with the size for sure. Yeah, I think they have limitations with the size for sure. It's the best in the Big 12, which I think is ridiculous. And again, like, look, Totri, it's a tale as old as time. It's clockwork, right? We're in January, which means it's time for Colorado fans to run their mouth and talk about how they're the best
5'9" receiver.
Yeah, they do.
I swear to God, they added a third one from Maryland, Cam Perry.
Sir, a third 5'9" wide receiver hit Boulder.
5'9" receivers. 3. You don't have the best. You got the tiniest. You got the tiniest wide receiver room in the conference. I say this as somebody who's shorter than them by like an inch or two. You don't see me playing Division I college football. I'll tell you what, that was not an option in high school. You know why? Because I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? Genetically, I was not gifted in that way. Colorado is saying, you know what? Genetically, we don't give a crap. We want you on the roster. 3 5'9" wide receivers? Are we serious? We're joking. We have to be joking. I'm getting punked. I have to be. This is ridiculous. That they're in the comments saying they have the best wide receiver trio room in the conference. I haven't heard of 3 of the 4 receivers you added. Huh? This is the Louis luggage? This is the Louis luggage that he brought.
This is classic.
It's embarrassing, dude.
This is classic Colorado. This is classic Totri.
Seriously, Max says they can stack on top of each other. You add 2 of them together and you got Reed Harris.
It'd be your own, man. Who would have thought Totri would be going at the short kings, man?
Look, man, it's okay to be short. If you're not a Division I college football player playing a position where you need to be tall. Like, that's it. I love Derek Eusebio. Absolutely. Oh, no. He's short, dude. If Derek was 6'2", 6'3", seriously, if he was 6'2", 6'3", we'd be talking about him as a starter, like he'd be getting ridiculous reps at ASU. But we're not. Why? Because he's not 6 foot tall.
Okay, how about this? Okay, Totri. Okay, how about this? So in the spirit of having a conversation about are they the best wide receiver duo in the Big 12, not are they the best wide receiver duo out of Colorado and ASU, Ralph in the chat talks about Houston. They got 23-year-old Trent Walker. You'll like this. Do you want to know how tall Trent Walker is? Oregon State transfer.
6'4".
6'2". So okay. much better than before. 68 receptions for 823 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 yards per reception. For an Oregon State team that was in flux, so obviously you're in a better situation. You'll probably put up better stats than that. And then returning Amari Thomas, who is dangerously close to 5'11" at 6 feet tall, so I don't know if that's going to discredit them.
That's fine. If you have a 5 and then a double digit, cool. That's fine. I can get on board with you playing college football. If you have a 5 and then a 9 below, dude, come on. And we added 3 of them. We really got triplets.
Amari Thomas almost broke 1,000 this season with 67 receptions, 966 yards, 12 touchdowns, 14.4 yards per reception for, a pretty good Houston team, obviously, that we saw last year. So I think, it's 2 that are effective, larger for your preference, larger college football wide
Not
receiver.
my preference. The game's preference. This is not like, again, I'm 5'8" on a really good day. I don't play receiver. It was never an option.
Are you on a bad
It was
day?
never something that I thought about. Maybe at the time, Estrella Community College would have taken me. But, like, what are we doing? It's 2026. We're saying we got the best receiver room in the conference with 3 dudes that can't ride some rides at Six Flags? Seriously, that's what we got here. Stop arguing, Colorado fans. Every time you guys decide you want to hop, skip, and a jump in my comments, just tuck your tail between your ass and turn around because it doesn't work. You don't know what you're talking about, and this is just the latest iteration of it. Reed Harris and Omarion Miller easily clear whatever Colorado's going to throw out there at wide receiver next year. Easily. That duo alone clears the wide majority of the Big 12, if not the entire Big 12.
I have a question for you. What are you on a bad day?
We could talk about it on the other side of our first break.
Go ahead and write down this number right now, 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841. That is the number to the husband and wife law team. Look, if you've suffered a serious injury or you've been in an accident, making sure that you hire the right lawyer, it matters. And the husband and wife law team bring hundreds of years of combined trial experience, including multiple certified specialists in personal injury and in wrongful death. You can access an attorney at all times. You never have to play phone tag to try to speak with your attorney. Call your paralegal, schedule a time with your lawyer, and know that you'll have the support that you need. Plus, they're happy to guarantee you a lot of things, like you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. And again, you can speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you'd like to discuss. If you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you.
Look, you already know Phoenix is one of the best sports cities in the Valley. And this spring, it's about to raise the bar to a whole new level because for the first time in history, that's right, for the first time in history, NASCAR and NTT IndyCar Series are racing during the same weekend at Phoenix Raceway. And you guys get a front row seat to the action. Of course, nothing delivers like the intensity of race weekend. We're talking about the engines firing, the smell of rubber, the crowd erupting as the field charges into turn one. So if you want the best access in motorsports, we're talking, of course, going inside the garage, walking the track, meeting the drivers, and of course, catching that pre-race concert. No Sport brings you closer. Make sure you upgrade to the Desert Diamond Casino in-field experience. Ticket options, of course, you've got a hillside view for the Cup race weekend packages that make planning easy. Witness 3 action-packed days of racing. Secure your seats now at the link in our description. Again, secure your seats now at the link in our description. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, and head to gophnx.com and click on that events tab because PHNX is taking over Mullet Arena. That is right. Leah and the PHNX hockey crew are doing an ASU takeover as ASU hockey takes on St. Cloud State on Friday, February 6th. Now, a package includes, obviously, a ticket to the game, some immaculate vibes, pregame meetup. The location is still TBD, but that is going to include food and drinks. And, of course, if you are a diehard, you get 20% off as well. So definitely, if you're a diehard, you want to take advantage of this opportunity. Mullet Arena and ASU hockey tickets just in general are some of the hardest to come by simply because it's a great environment and people want to go out there and watch the Sun Devils. So again, February 6th, that's a Friday, ASU hockey taking on St. Cloud State. Go phnx.com, click the event tab, and you can learn more there. Rubus, to answer your question before we got to the break, 5'8" on a good day, 5'9" in my dreams, and then I would say probably about 5'7" on an kind of day.
Get you a man with range, right?
That's what I do.
Totri's a man with range.
That's what I do. Like we can go 5-7 and a half. We can go sometimes 5-9 if you are asleep and it's the wee hours of the evening. And then, on a normal day, I hover around the 5-8 range. It
you
really
carry
depends.
yourself taller, though. You walk
absolutely.
proud. Your
Absolutely.
shoulders
I
back.
definitely carry myself. I have the confidence of a man that stands much taller than I do. That is the best way to put it.
Any other words you'd like to share with the Colorado University fans?
Look, we haven't had a discussion, Colorado fans. We haven't needed to in several years, right? We had our beef.
Years?
I won,
Come on.
You lost, and that was that. Right, like we didn't need to do whatever it was you thought you were going to do on the internet last night or today. It's cute, but at a certain point, you outgrow that, right, as a fan base. So I think it's time that fan base stays in their lane, understands where they're at, and that's about middle of the pack of the Big 12 on a really good day, right? Again, similar to when I'm about 5'9" in your dreams, okay? So just enjoy that. And once the season starts and maybe some players make some plays, then you can come back at me and say, hey, remember when you said all of our guys were short? Well, I'll still be right, but maybe they will have done something that's worth talking about. Because Reed Harris, he does things that are worth talking about. Omarion Miller does things worth talking about. And guess what? They're both going to be sporting either a Sparky or a pitchfork on their helmet in 2026 right here in Tempe, and that is point blank period going to be the best wide receiver duo in the Big 12 with a chance to elevate that to the best wide receiver duo in college football. And I don't think that is drastic to say if you watch what these two did at schools that clearly are much, much worse. Colorado offensively was not good last year. Omarion Miller was a standout talent. Reed Harris played at Boston College last year. I'm surprised in 2026 they still have a football program. One of the best receivers in that conference last year. They're both here. And something we haven't talked about is just from a skill perspective, those are two of the best receivers in the country. Now you're telling me they're coming here and they're working with Hines Ward, a dude who just helped Jordan Tyson solidify himself as a top 10 pick in the draft in April? A Super Bowl MVP? A future NFL Hall of Famer? Yeah, I'm taking that duo over any other duo that you'd like to throw out there in the Big 12, potentially the country. But maybe that's something that we can elaborate a little bit more on as the season actually inches closer. What I do want to transition to is we've talked about the bona fide stars on the perimeter for Arizona State, right? Reed Harris and, of course, Omarion Miller, easily the flashiest names that the Sun Devils have added this transfer portal cycle. I don't think that is drastic to say by any means. But I want to spend some time talking about potential diamonds in the rough, hidden gems for ASU, because, Erik, it feels like every year we've done this between you and I, or Shane and I, or even Shane, Sean, and I, going back years, right? Where it's like, these are the guys where you have expectations, right? And I know that's a scary term in 2026 for Arizona State fans, given what happened in 2025, right? Is you hear the word expectation and it's like, oh, those weren't met in 2025. So we have expectations for certain players that can be stars. But it feels like every single year there is somebody that emerges that didn't get enough love, that folks didn't think were talented enough, that just didn't get talked about leading into the season, and then they're thrust into the moment and they deliver, right? And I think you go back several years ago when Cam Scatterbo was here, and I know that's a crutch at this point, right? Of like, oh, like stars don't matter in recruiting, let's talk about Scat. You want to get an FCS guy and tell them they can be a star here? Oh, we talk about Scat. And now here we are with the hidden gem conversation. Somebody that wasn't really talked about a ton. Look what they did. Cam Scatterbo, right? But like, I think you could even make the argument last year that Derek Eusebio at a certain point was a hidden gem, right? And to go full circle on our short guy conversation, like that's what he was, right? Arizona State needed somebody not named Jordan Tyson to step up. And if my memory serves me correct, it was the Mississippi State game when they were coming back at a certain point in time. And I could be wrong on that one, but I feel like he is somebody, maybe it was even like later when you got to conference play, there was a time where his number was called and he came up big. I think it was Mississippi State. It was like a 3rd and long on ASU's own like 20-yard line or something. And he ripped off like a 60-yard catch. And from that point forward, it was like, okay, Derek Eusebio, no, he may not be a superstar, but he's somebody that you can rely on, you can count on, that nobody was really talking about. I think on the defensive side of the ball, we talk about hidden gems. Justin Watley and Boogie Wilson feel like they were 2 hidden gems for this team last year. Somebody in Boogie Wilson that wasn't even supposed to start because Miles Rouser and Xavier Alford said, nah, we're good. We got this. We're running it back from 2024, the best safety duo in the conference. Justin Watley in a packed room. Prince Dorba, Elijah O'Neal, Clayton Smith. And you're telling me at the end of the year, Justin Watley rips off a 4-game stretch where he did not have a sack? Like, that's what I'm talking about, hidden gems. So for you, like, is there anybody that you have seen Arizona State add to this point in time where you're like, man, they're not getting enough love. We're not talking about them. Nobody else is talking about them. And these guys could potentially have that type of impact in 2026.
Just to clarify one thing, it was not the Mississippi State game for Eusebio, I believe. Yeah, Baylor game, 2 receptions for 78 yards.
There we go. There we go. Parker, I appreciate you correcting me in the chat.
Also, 2 rushes for 11 yards for Eusebio that game.
Yeah, because at a certain point, you need, like, he was the only guy doing anything.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, Totri, to say, like, people aren't talking about it enough. It's so hard for us to kind of keep that perspective because we literally talk about these guys so
every
much.
Day, yeah.
And I do think Marquise Gillis, if you look at it from a national perspective, is somebody he's going to get no love. Like there's going to be 0 preseason all Big 12 buzz for Marquise Gillis. There's going to be nobody talking about how he could be the running back one at ASU, despite or except for the people who are watching the practices, right, and are very up close and personal with this team, the fans who are following it closely. And that's somebody that I know you and I are both really high on. I know you're really, really high on him. So I think that he falls in there, but give me Christian Ingman. I think Christian Ingman is somebody that is an underrated ad simply because I think as a collective, we underrated the exodus of talent in that tight end room. And I don't believe that he's going to be tight end 1. I think AJ Ia can figure into that. I think Kamari Anderson's going to get more playing time, get more targets for sure when he does play. But this is somebody who has more receptions from last season than every other tight end combined on this team. Obviously coming from Portland State, but again, we're not going to discount guys. We're talking about hidden gems. I think Ingman is somebody that could end up being not a mainstay of the offense, but somebody who's more involved than maybe we're planning on right now in January.
I like that. I like a tight end, and specifically Ingman, because I think you could make the argument that he's coming from Portland State. Right. So like you see the other tight end that they added, and Anthony Miller from Tulane, that's a CFP team. Yes, he's bigger. Yes, he's more of a blocking tight end, but I think that's somebody that in this larger conversation of like, okay, who's going to be a dog here? Yeah, I think more people would lean Anthony Miller. I think more people would go with the AJ Ias. People would go with the Kamari Anderson. So the fact that you're going Christian Ingman here, I like it. Somebody that I think you can already tell on social media, like he likes the underdog mentality. He likes people telling him he's not good enough. People telling him that he's just going to be a special teams guy. I think that's big. And I think, again, that's kind of just going back to what this team is, what it's part of the culture, right? Of like, this is a group of misfits and players that nobody else wanted. So I think I'm very interested to see what he does. I love that poll, especially working with Jason Mons as the tight ends coach. I think for me, there's a couple names, and I think when you talk about new additions for Arizona State, I love Marquise Gillis. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think he's a hidden gem because I think he's gonna be RB1. So I don't think that's necessarily hidden gem-esque for me. And bear with me here. I think Cutter Boley is gonna be a hidden gem.
Interesting. And
I think there are folks, at least from what I've seen, and maybe it's more so that I'm ingrained in the Arizona State side of things, which is very possible, where it's at a certain point, I think the first 24 hours of the Cutter Boley edition, it was like, who is this guy? Why did we get him? I want somebody else. Why is this not a top 5 quarterback in the portal? That was the majority of it. And then part of it being like, okay, well, he turns the ball over a lot. Right, fair or not, that was a lot of the discourse around Cutter Boley when the addition came. And then I think there were some folks over the next couple of days that were watching the film, watching the tape, listening, and like you, talking to folks who covered him at Kentucky. And it was more so like, okay, he's got tools. He's got potential to be, I think, everything that he wants to be and everything that Kenny Dillingham wants him to be right here at Arizona State. But the question is, who's a hidden gem? Who's somebody that you're not looking at right now saying they're going to be a superstar? And I don't think anybody's looking at Cutter Boley right now saying, hey, this kid's a superstar. Everyone, and I think rightfully so at this point in time, is saying, well, he's got Omarion Miller. He's got Reed Harris. He's got a brand new offensive line. He's got a running back room with, at the very minimum, 2 seniors. 2 guys have been around college football and a number of other guys that can contribute. He's got other guys in the wide receiver room, right? He's got a Jalen Moss. He's got a Jaron Hamilton. He's got a Derek Eusebio. He's got a Plas Johnson. He's going to have a Raiden Vines-Bright. And then at tight end, he's not only got your guy that you mentioned in Ingman, but he's got Anthony Miller Jr. He's got A.J. Ia. He's got Vircher. He's got Landon Myrie. He's got Kamari Anderson. So I think everybody, when they're talking about Arizona State, it's more so like, how can he not fail, right? How can Cutter Boley not turn into a superstar? When in reality, it's going to be a jump. It's going to be, hey, yes, we've positioned you to be a very serviceable quarterback with the weapons around you, but he's going to be asked to take that next step, right, to be a superstar. And I think from what I've seen, I think I'm somebody that definitely underestimated his athleticism at first glance. Somebody that, again, I still don't believe he's going to win many foot races, but as a quarterback, I feel a lot more comfortable with him taking the hits that Sam took than Sam did, simply because he is a bigger guy, right? He does stand at 6'5", 220 pounds. He's a much bigger quarterback than Sam was. So in terms of the athleticism, and we saw it at times last year for Kentucky, he would lower his shoulder and run over some dudes. And then you do look at the tape, somebody that throws well off schedule, something that we've seen Kenny Dillingham quarterbacks have to do in the past, right? So I think for me, if he can take that next step in his development and not say, hey, Cutter Boley is going to be a superstar because of the talent around him, rather, he is not only going to take that step himself, but elevate the talent around him himself. If that sentence makes any sort of semblance and sense.
I'm following.
I think he can be a savior here. I think he can be a hidden gem as it stands now, because even folks in the chat saying, I think Mikey Keene might win the job. There's accounts on the internet dedicated just to Jake Fetty, right? And I think each and one of these guys brings their own special tools and talents. But let's not forget, Cutter Boley was the first guy that ASU signed in the portal. Yeah. There is going to be a belief around him. And I just feel like there isn't enough discourse around a guy who could potentially be a QB1 for this team in 2026.
Well, I think it's an interesting situation that he finds himself in, right? Because he wasn't on the list of quarterbacks people expected. He's not a top 10 quarterback in the transfer portal, somewhere around top 15. And he certainly has a lot of faults. Like, he has a lot of flaws that he showed as a very young quarterback. And from what we have learned in talking to people from Kentucky and looking more into it, was a very bad situation for him. Like, a really bad situation.
Horrendous.
The multiple times, Tyler, who follows Kentucky, who I talked to on the show, called their offensive coordinator a bozo, like multiple times, over and over again. And
nothing better than calling another grown man a bozo,
dude. It's such
having valid reasons to do so.
Yeah. Oh, he was cooking. He was cooking because, you talk about Cutter Boley's athleticism. That was something they lamented that they didn't use enough over in Kentucky. Like, they didn't put him in a position to succeed. And if there's one thing we know, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit, is that this staff puts quarterbacks in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
Jeff Sims succeeded at Arizona State. I know that the lows left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and obviously when the lows happened, were unfortunate. But overall, his production at Arizona State was impressive given what people were to expect out of him. And then, of course, you look at Sam Leavitt, who had way less on tape than Cutter Boley, way less to get excited about than Cutter Boley when he transferred in here. So I think he's kind of walking this fine line, and I think it's fine to put him in the hidden gem category, because I think for those who believe, they really strongly believe, and a lot of that I think goes with the situation, but also in him. And for those that don't, like, they're really strongly in the other camp. And so finding somebody who has a lot of doubters, I certainly think falls into that diamond in the rough, hidden gem category.
How do you feel about Raiden Vinesbright?
I like Raiden Vinesbright. I think it's been a little bit underrated with Raiden because of Reed Harris and Omarion Miller, and I think that's completely understandable. I do think that there's a chance that Raiden Vinesbright is just a rotational piece as a wide receiver, given some of the talent that you're retaining in the room. If Jaron Hamilton can get better with the playbook and doing the little things, if Eusebio continues to improve on the trajectory that he has been improving on, if Jalen Moss continues to be real like he was in the Sun Bowl, I think there's a chance that he kind of is somewhere in the shuffle, but I also think that there's an upside for him to be the third starting receiver on this team. Lots of athleticism, really, really fast, local kid as well. I like him. I don't know if I'm ready to automatically say he's going to contribute, but I guess maybe the same way with Ingman. But with Ingman, I think there's more room in that room to stand out. Whereas the wide receiver room, you could be really, really talented and not be seeing the field as much simply because you've got a lot of really good pass catchers in that room, including two superstars that are going to be on the field as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think that hidden gem is going to be whoever that third receiver ends up being. Because just thinking about it, you're going to have to work your ass off to see the field. Because we've already established, right? Reed Harris, Omarion Miller, those are your perimeters. You got your X and your Z, and they're both ginormous, and they're both great at what they do, right? Reed obviously bigger than Omarion. Say Omarion is probably a little bit more fluid. Both really talented wide receivers. So whoever that third guy is, and again, not to take your role here, but just listing them out.
Please.
Jalen Moss, Jaron Hamilton, Derek Eusebio, Raiden Vinesbright, Plas Johnson, Harry Hassman, Corey Butler. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody. That's 7 dudes. And again, I understand they don't all play in the slot. Some of them play more perimeter, play more of an X role, right? Realistically, we're probably talking more of a Jalen Moss, Derek Eusebio, Raiden Vinesbright if they see him as more of a slot guy. Whoever ends up getting that spot is almost going to have to be a hidden gem because the only way you're going to see the field is if you outwork the other 7 dudes. And half those guys were here last year. A quarter of those dudes run like 4.35 40s. They're quick as hell. Some of them are vets in college football, like a Jalen Moss, and they've seen it all, who exists. We saw him in the Sun Bowl, right? And then another quarter of them are young dogs who want to see the field for the first time. So whoever ends up getting that spot is going to have to work their ass off to get there. And just feels like because of all the attention that's going to go to the Reed Harris, Omarion Miller combination, that third wide receiver is going to have opportunities, is certainly going to have moments where they can be the dude. And if they're out there, you got to feel like they have a prime opportunity to be a hidden gem. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. It just feels like you can't not see the field in this. You can't see the field in this offense and not have an opportunity to be a superstar.
Yeah, and I think Derek Eusebio kind of put that in context this year, right? Obviously not as deep of a wide receiver room, but still clearly a talented one with Jordan Tyson in there. But not a lot of people were looking at Derek Eusebio, including myself, as somebody whose name was going to be called on as much as it was this season. And he was on the field. He found ways to make plays. It wasn't the highest yardage every single game, but it was impactful when it happened. And I think a superstar in your role and being impactful is something that I could see from Raiden Vinesbright, or really any of the wide receivers that could be seeing the field as that third receiver. It could be multiple of them too, right? Like it could be Eusebio and Vinesbright. Both of those guys could be hidden gems in this offense.
I don't know. What I do know is it's going to be fun. And I kind of want to take one step back and continue talking about quarterbacks and the development and what we'll see with Cutter Boley. And we're going to do that. And we are going to take a break here in a second. But one thing I do want to say is we've had a number of you, really since the portal opened, of all of you, whether you've been here or not, really showing love to the channel, really showing love to the show. So we really, really appreciate that. Sharon in here, Hunter in here, a bunch of other folks who are not just either diehards or folks who show up daily, but they're also a part of our supporters club. And you'll notice they have the little badge next to their name. And if you are a part of that supporters club, this is now your opportunity. Throw out some of those dilly emojis. Throw out the Sims emoji, the Sparky emoji, the Forks Up emoji. You only get access to these emojis if you are a part of the supporters club. I think it's like $5 a month. You get the badge. You get a free super chat. So it goes a long way. If you don't want to take my word for it or Rubus's word for it, take the word of Sharon, of Hunter, of other folks who are a part of that supporters club. Shane, how can folks really sign up to be a part of that supporters club?
Click the link in the description. I'll send a link in the chat right now as well. You get a free super chat every single month, actually. So
every month, boom.
Once a month, you get a free super chat. All those members only videos are great for supporters only. Just a really fun way to support. And we cycle out the emojis every so often. So we might not have as many in the off season, but like after a big win, we're spamming the Sims emoji. I mean, it's still in there. I will never let it die.
I love it. I love it. Look, click that link.
If ASU somehow wins tonight, there's gonna be a
Bobby emoji.
There's gonna be like 50 Bobby emojis and no
Bob
other emojis.
Bob emoji. Yeah, nothing quite like a Bob emoji on a Wednesday night. Look, click that link, sign up. We're going to talk quarterbacks and Bob Hurley on the other side of our second break. I want to tell you about our friends over at Circle K who here in 2026 are doing the same thing that they were helping you do in 2025, and that is, of course, saving money every single day. So how do you do so? Well, you sign up for Inner Circle. It's Circle K's free membership program. It takes like 30 seconds to enroll. Download the app from the App Store, enter your email and phone number, and that's it. That's all it takes to start saving money with Circle K. Your first 5 fill-ups, well, you guys are going to save 25 cents off. Again, your first 5 fill-ups as a member of Inner Circle. And the deals, they don't just stop with gas, snacks, drinks, pretty much all of the things that Circle K has. They're trying to help you save money. And this Thursday, that's right, this Thursday, there's an Inner Circle Fuel Day. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you guys can save sometimes 30, 40, 50 cents per gallon on gas. Again, this Thursday, don't miss out. Make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
One of the many things that you can find at Circle K, of course, are scratchers, courtesy of our friends over at the Arizona Lottery. If you're over the age of 21, well, multiplier scratchers are the perfect way to add to your life. With multiple multiplier scratchers from Arizona Lottery, you can multiply the good things like vacation, relaxation, and celebration. Those are 3 things that I very much enjoy because with over $270 million in prizes, $270 million in prizes. You could win big to do more of the things that you love in life. Multiplier tickets start at just $1 and have prizes up to $5 million. Plus, you can also get triple themed games, triple the fun. You can play 3 exciting triple themed games from the Arizona Lottery, triple red sevens and triple cash payout scratchers for a chance to win top prizes of $100,000. At the end of the day, it's fun. It's a good gift if you need one in a pinch. And of course, you might just make some money. With access to over 3,500 retailers across the state, of course, our favorite being Circle K, you can play wherever and whenever you'd like.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Again, if you are just joining us, this is our first episode of the day. We will be doing another PHNX Sun Devils show, a post-game show this evening right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel following Arizona State and Arizona men's basketball. I say following lightly simply because if they're getting blown out, I tell you what, we're going to be live sooner than that final whistle. I feel like that's fair. We've got an interesting soundbite from Bobby Hurley that we will show you guys at the tail end of today's show. But getting back to football, I know bouncing off the discussion we had about Cutter Boley and some of these hidden gems, the reason I think, again, maybe myself and I'm sure a few others out there are a lot more invested in Cutter Boley and his progression as a quarterback at Arizona State and what that could look like is because of Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo, right? Is because of that duo that has worked with guys like this, that has worked with the Jared Goffs at Cal, that has worked with the Justin Herberts at Oregon. Obviously, Sam Leavitt and what he was able to accomplish here, and then leaving being the number one player in the portal, not just quarterback. Jordan Travis, a widely considered undersized quarterback who at a certain point was almost ready to give up on himself as a quarterback at this level, and Kenny Dillingham helped steer him in the right direction and changed his career, ultimately getting to the NFL before retiring really early. And then, of course, Bo Nix, right? Currently the quarterback of the number one seed in the AFC, the Denver Broncos. They've worked with all those guys. They all have different tools. They all have different talents, but they all spent time with two guys that are the spearhead of Arizona State's offense in Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo. And yes, there have been quarterbacks outside of this that haven't turned out well, right? And I know we were joking this morning, Erik, but pretty much all those quarterbacks in 2023 that were on the roster. Right. Now, I will say Arroyo wasn't here. These were quarterbacks probably in a pinch that just ASU could get, right? The Drew Pines, the Jacob Conivers. You had Bourguet on the roster. Love the dude. You had Rashada that you were able to add. His career, I actually had a nightmare that he was coming back to ASU. That's a time for that's a story for a different time. But all those guys didn't work out, right? And Arroyo's worked with other QBs like Josh McCown. He's worked with Mason Rudolph. Kenny Dillingham obviously worked with Brady White at Memphis. Like a number of quarterbacks, talented at this level and then talented at the next. So it just feels like when ASU makes a statement, and don't get it wrong, that's exactly what they did by signing Cutter Boley as the first transfer edition of this class, a statement. It says there is a big belief in getting him to take that next step in his development and his career at ASU. And I just this inkling, man, of it's like they've invested too much, not just in Boley, but in the offense for there to be a giant question at quarterback of like, hey, can he do it? Can he develop? It feels like there is a very clear statement, again, for lack of better terms, of like, this is going to be the guy.
Sure. I think another way that you could look at that statement is that right after Cutter Boley announced his commitment, Arizona State went and landed the 2 top 5 wide receivers in the portal. And those guys don't play for teams that aren't going to be able to get them the ball. That's a pretty big vote of confidence. I think when you look at those names, a lot of the times you're like, oh, those are just really talented guys, right? They end up being really talented. I think what's encouraging about that list is they all got better. They all got better under Marcus Arroyo, under Kenny Dillingham. And look, I know that maybe some of these other names haven't worked out as much, but like Trent Bourguet threw for over 400 yards in a game. Like almost beat Washington. Right? Like was a serviceable quarterback, right? And as somebody who is obviously very deeply tied to Arizona State, will be for the rest of his life. But like, as far as being a quarterback, like he was serviceable. Like he was good at a lot of times too. Jeff Sims broke records at Arizona State. That's not a hyperbole. That's not a crazy statement. That's a fact. That is a stone cold fact. And while it wasn't perfect for either of them, and they certainly had their flaws, you could get so much more out of quarterbacks just by having Kenny Dillingham as your coach, by having Marcus Arroyo as your offensive coordinator. And it's not crazy to look at Cutter Boley and imagine, with all the crap that he's had to gone through, a bad situation, something for him to prove, by all accounts, a good worker, hard worker, great teammate, guys like him. I don't see why you couldn't, as an ASU fan, look at this with a lot of optimism, right? Certainly there are things that you need to keep your eyes out for, but would you not have faith in, Arizona State negating some of the negatives, right? And finding the best ways to use him, like they did with Sam Leavitt, like they did with Jeff Sims, like they did with Trenton Bourguet. Like, there's a pattern here, and Cutter Boley has all the tools. The same way that Leavitt had all the tools, Cutter Boley's got all the tools. Jeff Sims had all the tools. They were able to find effective ways to use it to win football games, to win a Big 12 championship. And until Kenny Dillingham gives you a reason, until Marcus Arroyo gives you a reason to doubt their quarterback development, to doubt their mind when it comes to, that position, you have no reason to. There's been zero reason for you to not think that Cutter Boley is going to come here and at least be a wildly improved quarterback, if not a great quarterback.
Yeah, 1,000%. And even, again, we lean heavy into Cutter Boley, and I think, again, like I said, I think he's going to work out. I feel confident in that. Somebody that has a lot of experience in the SEC, was not on a good team, made the most of it. Yes, he had some turnovers, as most quarterbacks do, more than you would like. But, like, at the end of the day, he was a young quarterback learning, right, in the SEC with a bozo calling the plays. So now you're telling me he goes to a place that has maybe two of the better quarterback whispering coaches in the realm of college football. And again, I don't think this is going to happen, but if it does, guess what? You have Mikey Keene here for a year. You have Jake Fetty. You have Cam Dyer. You have Butter Tollefson. You have Christian Hunt. And then in 2027, welcome to Tempe Weston Nielsen, a 4-star quarterback, right? So, like, we talk about the team and the roster and all that stuff of ins and outs. And I think, like, ASU, Kenny and Marcus have done a phenomenal job of setting up almost like a little mini farm system of quarterbacks of, like, okay, we're going to always have a vet in the room, right? You go back, you had Bourget there, you had Pine there, you had Conover there. They were all really, like, vets. None of them were, like, world beaters, right? Conover, one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life at Division
You
level.
hate him, bro.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible quarterback.
Colorado or Jacob Conover. Those are Totri's public enemy number one.
Yeah, Jacob Conover, just horrendous at his job. Should have stayed on his mission, et cetera, et cetera. 2024, 2025. Your vet in the room is Jeff Sims, right? Just in case. And I get people didn't love the Jeff Sims edition. People didn't love Jeff Sims while he was playing. Some folks felt differently about it, right? At the end of the day, like you said, you can't argue the fact dude broke records at Arizona State, did it in the Sun Bowl, did it against Iowa State. Literal records broken, smashed by a dude that other folks thought would never see the field again as a starting quarterback in Division I college football. He did that. Yes, part of that was him. Part of that was the coaches, right? So you had your vet the last 2 years. Your vet leaves. He's out of eligibility. Your young superstar that you hope to develop, gone. He did the opposite, left a housewife, went to a hoe, right? So you go into this offseason, you need your young superstar, your young gun. You need your vet. You add Mikey Keene, your vet. You add Cutter Boley, who is potentially your young developmental superstar. And then you have other young guns here. You got a couple that were here, a couple that were, Jake Fetty, for example, coming in as a true freshman. And then you even look to next year of a Weston Nielsen. Like, this is going to be a revolving door of quarterbacks because this is the one position you always can count on Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo to have a good one. Yeah. Right? To have somebody that can play the position competently. And I think, again, like, it is the most important position in college football. These two have been around, just ridiculously talented quarterbacks and have helped get them to where they need to be. I feel like it would almost be naive to count them out, saying that they can't develop one of these guys to be a true day one starter that you feel is a top 5 guy in the conference.
You just have to wait and see. I mean, we all have faith, but we got to look at it. Like, we got to see what actually happens. And that's what I think is so exciting about this, is that you've got a guy that you could totally see this panning out with. And if not, like, move on, because I have faith in them figuring out something at the quarterback position. But like Green M&M says in the chat, Cutter's making $2.4 million. He better. Yeah. And there's a lot of pressure on Cutter Boley now. You're not at the bottom of the barrel SEC anymore, man. Like, ASU is, no doubt about it, trying to win a Big 12 championship and is putting a Big 12 championship roster together, especially on offense. So there's no excuses as far as getting the most out of Cutter Boley. So we're going to learn what he's made of, and we're going to see what Kenny and Arroyo can do with them.
Sharon wants to know if you're okay, Erik.
I'm fine. Yeah.
You sure?
I'm ready to talk Bobby Ball.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Bobby Ball conversation will be short. Bobby Hurley had an availability yesterday. And Bobby Hurley, once a friend of the program.
Hey,
You're on fire today, dude.
What? I say once a friend of the program. He hasn't come on in a while.
he's still a friend of the program.
He is a friend of Shane Dieffenbach's. And he, obviously ASU plays their rival tonight, plays Arizona at their place, right, at McHale. You know it's a crazy environment. You know the PHNX Sun Devils show is going to be doing a post-game show, so you know it's going to be just must-watch television, right? And so Bobby Hurley is asked yesterday, which would be Tuesday, about his rival, about playing at McHale. And instead of inspiring confidence in the fan base, instead of inspiring confidence in the team, it's what Bobby says.
Look, I mean, if any time you would tell me I'm like 2-8 somewhere, I'm not thinking that's that good. But with that team and that building and that place and how many people have won there over the years and the record that Arizona has on that floor, it's not too bad.
2-8, Erik.
Fire me up, coach. Fire me up, coach.
2-8. 2-8.
Not that bad.
20%. 20%.
Man. Not that bad.
20%.
Not that bad.
Bobby Hurley.
Don't worry about it.
Goes on the road.
Yeah. It's a little
at
drive.
McHale. Once a year.
Yep.
Been doing that for a decade. 10 years. Since I was 18. Since I was a legal adult. He's been going to McHale once a year. 10 years. He's won 2 of those games. One of those games was a buzzer beater. A half-court prayer shot. Thank God it went in, but it was a prayer. Should be 1-9. And stands there, I apologize, and says, not bad. All right, it's a good team. It's a good program. What the actual hell are we talking about? You do anything 20% of the time? You make 2 of 10 shots? It's not good. That's ass. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And we're sitting here wondering why the basketball program is what it is from a men's perspective. I get it. You don't have the world beaters. Koa Pete's not on your team. Jaden Quaitance is not on your team. Des Cambridge ain't here anymore. I get that. And you have some dudes on the team. You have Masamba Diop, Mo Odom. They played well this season. But you go up there and you tell me, not bad. 2 out of 10. That's not good enough. It's not good enough in anything you do. At all, ever. And we're telling you, like, seriously, that's what we're saying? It's not bad. They're a good team. That's BS, dude. Absolute BS. And if I'm a player and I hear my coach say that, and again, just full circle, I'm not a player because I'm 5'8".
Gotcha.
That's not what I want to see my coach saying. I don't want to see my coach, it's no surprise the number 1 team in the country has a good road environment. We know that. But I don't want to see my coach go up there and say, yeah, we won 2 games in the last decade there. Good job. That's not what I want to hear, right? That's not if
that
you're
bad,
an athletic
man.
director, if you're a fan, that's not what you want to hear your coach say against your rival? Against your rival, dude. Imagine if Jordan Ott said, you know what? We beat the Lakers 1 out of every 10 times we play them. They're a good team. That's good. No, it's not. What? You would want
Jordan Ott would never.
Exactly. Would Kenny Dillingham ever say that? Would Molly Miller ever say that? Would JJ Van Neal ever say that? Would Greg Powers ever say that? No, absolutely not. They would never say that. And the next time you're wondering why we don't do post-game shows for basketball, that's why. Because he goes up there and says that. That's why.
Well, the good news, Totri, is that the record's much better when they face Arizona at home. Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, it's not? Oh. Yeah, look, not great. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. To be the voice of reason here, as I always am. It is a really tough place to play, and Arizona's a good basketball team. Like, these are objective truths. I hate them. I hate them with my entire gut, but these are objective truths. You just can't say that. Like, you can't say that. You can think it. You can believe it. It's understandable, but you can't say that. You can't be like, yeah, it's fine. Actually, I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Hey, guess what? Nobody else thinks it's pretty good, like, at all. So we'll see if that changes tonight, man. You know what sounds great?
You, me, the Deli Man, in a post-game show.
And 3-8. Koa Pete takes off his U of A warm-ups to reveal maroon and gold underneath, suits up for Bobby Hurley's squad in the ultimate betrayal, and boom, Arizona State leaves on top 100-54. Tommy Lloyd didn't know what hit him. Arizona State, Bobby Hurley, 3-8 on the road against U of A. We'll see tonight.
That's going to do it for today's episode, or I should say the first episode of the PHNX Sun Devils show. We get to do a post-game tonight. Regardless of what happens, I expect all of you and JJB to be there to talk ASU hoops. It will be more than likely a therapy session, but hey, you never know. Maybe this is the third win in a decade for Bobby Hurley in Tucson. Guess we'll find out. If you want to continue to follow all of what we're doing here on the PHNX Sun Devil Show, give us a follow on X, on Instagram, at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow the Lister, also known as Erik Ruby. You can follow him at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with K. You can follow the Deli Man at Shane Deef.
Just juiced for some hoops talk, as always.
And we will see you tonight. In the meantime, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.